This is Alice from Which Way Wellness. I thought I would spend a couple moments and kind of chat a bit about kind of what my approach is in terms of validating yourself with the tarot. So, as I talked about in previous video, um, I've been really looking at the meanings, the messages from the cards, and looking at the descriptions from different books, different decks, and sometimes I see them and they don't resonate, and trying to kind of dive down and figure out why. And I started realizing that a lot of the whether it's advice or the keywords, or they're talking about the reversals, or the shadow aspects of the message of the cards, a lot of it is coming from a place of kind of continuing this perpetuation of guilt and shame, trauma. You might be gaslighting yourself when you're trying to read the cards and get some more understanding. So I was going to share with you an example of one, and I'm just going to do this kind of off the cuff. Other than I picked the card I was going to work with, because I thought it's one that I think a lot of people are either familiar with or have seen. So it's the Devil card. So this one is from my Modern Witch tarot deck, which just as a note, I've modified this deck a little bit so it's a little easier for me to handle and shuffle. It doesn't actually come with these little rounded corners, although I kind of wish it did. So a little description with this card. So this is coming from a book by Arthur Edward Waite. So we're speaking more to the kind of iconic imagery in the decks that are based on Pamela Coleman Smith's artwork and Rider and Waite. So it's talking about Devil. The design is an accommodation, mean or harmony between several motives mentioned in the first part. The horned goat of Mendes with wings like those of a bat is standing on an altar. At the pit of the stomach there's a sign of Mercury. The right hand is upraised and extended, being the reverence of that benediction which is given by the Hierophant in the fifth card. In the left hand there's a great flaming torch inverted towards the earth. A reversed pentagram is on the forehead. There is a ring on the altar from two chains around the necks of two figures, male and female. These are analogous with those of the fifth card, kind of like the lovers. So as of Adam and Eve after the fall. Hierophant is the chain and fatality of the material life. The figures are tailed to signify the animal nature, but there is no human intelligence in the faces, and he who is exalted above them is not to be their master forever. Even now he is a bondsman, sustained by the evil that is in him, and blind to the liberty of service, with more than his usual derision for the arts, which he pretended to respect and interpret as a master therein. Eliphas Levi confirms that the Baphometic it's kind of hard to say, Baphometic figure is occult science and magic. Another commentator says that in the divine world it signifies predestination, but there is no correspondence in that world with the things which below are of the brute. What it does signify is that the dweller on the threshold, without the mystical garden, when those are driven forth therefrom who have eaten the forbidden fruit. That's a lot of freaking words. So kind of the getting into what this what this is talking about in a lot of decks. So what the Devil card is talking about, very much like the physical state of being. Humans are animals, we're mammals, and that a lot of times we are driven by those drives or desires for, better or worse, just in our pursuit of life. And what I want to put forward is the idea of that there's been a sense of vilifying the experiences of the body. There's been a sense of vilifying the things that are fun, that taste good, that look good, that feel good. We have, and it ranges from everywhere from the stigmatism that fat people face, the the upholding of, you've got the sexually promiscuous person and then the virtuous person, and that they can't be the same thing. So we've got this like thing of like one is fallen and one is, raised up, when it's just really, these are just concepts. They're not actual, they may not actually be truths. So when I pull this card, when I pull the devil and I'm looking at it, and I do, like, I see this particular version, the people are not facing forward, they're facing away, so I don't actually see their faces. But they're looking kind of, towards this Baphometic figure, but it's like its hands are also symbolizing that, like, living at this intersection between what exists above our spirit and what exists below, which could be earth, or it could also be kind of a little more like unseen. So think of it like if you're standing on an iceberg, like there's a small part of it you can see, and then there's a whole lot more underneath of what might be existing. And that the chains are they're not tight, they're not constricting. So if we've gotten to a place where we realize, okay, I've chained myself to something, rather than going, oh, it's so stupid, I don't need to do that, I did this to myself, right? Okay. Is going, okay, this chain, like I could pull this off over my head. And then asking, is that really what I want to do right now? Is that what, with the information that I have about what I need for myself, is, unchaining myself from this, very sensual, carnal, bodied experience, is that what I want to do? And depending on your circumstances, the answer might be yes. The answer might be no. It might be I don't know. And if it's falling in the I don't know category, it just, like, you don't actually have to do anything. But you could experiment with it. And what I mean by that is you could say, okay, well, I'm gonna try, engaging in some practices that support maybe my intuition or mindfulness. Maybe it's going to be journaling. It might be some guided meditations, visualizations if those work for you. It could also be like researching, learning, delving into a subject area with a subject that is going to help you, free yourself, if that's if that's the direction that you're wanting to go. But I think there's a lot that we have kind of ingrained in our society of that we're not supposed to want to be here. And I would really question that. Like, why not? If you're in a place where you know yourself really well and you're comfortable and you like yourself, doesn't just mean like aesthetically, like the way you look. It's like you're really feeling like, yeah, I like myself. And it's like, sure, I could move on to something else, but it's not really what I want to do right now. It's like, that's okay. You don't have to look at this and go, oh my God, I need to ditch, this stuff that I'm chained to. I also want to speak to, some people see this as a card that speaks to things like addiction. And that's a word that I try to be very careful with, because for a lot of people, that the addiction, the chain that they sought out, was initially a means of harm reduction. They were trying to help themselves with something. It might be that they don't have access to financial stability. It might be they don't have access to, a safe, accessible workplace. it could be all number of things, or they're not able to have access to any other mental health services. Like they got kind of overlooked in the system, and they're just trying to figure out how to find some sense of happiness or comfort. And they may engage with substances that do become like this heavy chain, but it may not be, we don't fully understand like or at least we're not fully admitting the link between trauma, potentially neurodivergence, and addiction. And that on the whole, society fails a lot of people. The way our communities are set up, like people have a hard time getting adequate health care. I mean, there's a whole fucking TV show about, Breaking Bad, about a high school teacher that can't afford his, the cancer treatments, and so he goes and starts making and selling drugs. Like it just, yes, that is a very fictionalized account, but as with most fictional things, like it's, that I would say like, and I've only seen a little bit of the show because some of it was a bit much for me, but I mean, that is a very much like speaking to like the devil card and the kind of the push and pull, the interaction of trying to figure out how to deal with things, how to tend to yourself, how to tend to the physical body and feeling at home in the physical body when society, when religion, and so many things have like programmed in these things to say like, no, that's bad. You shouldn't do that. Like all these taboos. And so, people use the expression like they're feeling a little devilish is because they're wanting to rebel and they're wanting to actually spend time in this place in an effort to get to know themselves better. So that's just a little bit kind of about talking about, like we just use the devil card as an example. And I will, when I revisit this card again, which I know I will, I'll also be sharing some specific practices kind of within the realms of mind, body, and spirit that can be helpful or useful if you're working with this kind of energy, or you're trying to figure out, do I want to unchain myself?